Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Can you have one for Sure.
You're all here for me. Thank you. It is all about me. I'm sorry, I do that all the time.
Thank you.
And I have some fans in the crowd. I have some hecklers in the crowd. And I have a co-speaker in Marcus. So, my background, I've been a member since 07, first cash in 05, of course 2 years in between, that kind of thing, right? Didn't really do anything in between. I currently have 141 cash hides, 10 are disabled, 5 will come back up, so about a 96-97% survival rate. Yourself?
That one?
I would guess to think about
That
2
one?
years or 2 years.
There we go. I do this geocaching 401, unique caches, and I kind of freewheel it every time. So I do have a bit of a PowerPoint here to keep me on track today. But if there's more questions and interaction from the crowd required, then that would be good too. That's how we ended up in West Canada too, with more of a discussion.
Not every
So
has an opportunity to.
it's more of my insight into unique, special, custom, gadget, distinctive, one-off. So we'll just call them special caches because they're not the ordinary lock and lock hidden at the bottom of a tree or a film canister thrown at the bottom of a telephone pole. I want to focus on 4 things about a unique cache or special cache. How do I get an idea? Where do I find a location for that idea? And sometimes those two get reversed. The endurance or how long that cache is going to stay in that location. And lastly, your ability to do maintenance on it. So, like I said, anybody can do a lamppost cache, a nano in a pile of rocks. But if you try to put an ammo can in a pile of rocks, that's a little bit different, right? I have a sandwich container in a pile of rocks. Cost me a $35 diamond blade and 7 hours of grinding. It's a real rock. You just keep doing what you're doing there.
Oh, don't mind me, I'm just creating a cache.
Right. So where do I get my ideas? Well, the internet, of course, because there is Pinterest and YouTube and all those kind of things. I spend a lot of time laying in bed dreaming about it. Called obsession. You know, the MacGyver in me. Caches you've heard or found or seen kind of thing, and then you take it to the next level. You take your own hobby and you add it to the cache. So I'm a woodworker, is one of my other hobbies. So that treasure chest I built that, right? That's the third one. And then my secret location and ideas. Anybody guess? No, it's a recycling center. In Fort Saskatchewan, we have a metal recycling center where you drop off your fridges and any other metal. And I visit that on certain days, and I find metal containers and take those to the next level. It really hits when I come close to there. So we'll just stay over here. The idea. So now you can convince yourself and your significant other that you want to build a unique cache and you want to maintain it.
And ruin the blender.
And ruin the or a $35 diamond blade. So often a unique cache will take a little bit of money, a little bit of time, a little bit of effort, or you can just, shrink wrap a magnet to it, because tape's not going to stay forever. Tape usually lasts about a year, maybe 2. Shrink wrapping will last a little longer, so just take it to that next level, right? Oh yeah, stay over here. If you have an idea, test out that idea. One of my geocaching friends, Ratroot, He'll take his container, he'll fill it full of water, and he'll freeze it. Take it back out, try to open it a couple of times. He'll also do the opposite, right? Put a piece of paper in it, submerge it underwater for a couple of days. See if it's actually waterproof. We live in Canada. The environment changes from wet to dry, frozen, continuously, right? And the biggest problem for most caches, just ordinary ones, is staying watertight. Ask other people. If you do a bit of a gadget cache, test it on some people. I often get some very negative comments on my gadget caches from my significant other. And we amend it so that it's more friendly for everybody, not just the 1% out there, right? Or the 2%. If it's attractive, of course, try to make sure that you're able to tie it down. I even find that on my ordinary caches, tying them down, they stay in the same location. Because I go to do cache maintenance every spring, they've migrated somewhere else. I can't find them. Which is a little different on unique caches. They're usually stationary and much easier that way. Hence the location, right? You have to have that perfect location. I have some admirers here in the crowd. If you went to West Can 1, the mega in Three Hills, the sign on the tree, there's only one place you can put that, right? It can't go anywhere else except for a small set of trees on the side of the road, so it looks like somebody put that sign up there.
Is that yours?
That's mine.
The best will be found there.
Thank you.
Still talking about it.
That's why I get to talk in front of people. And I call that one my signature cache. So when make sure you know who owns the property if it's not on the city or the county's road right away. Because things will happen like this. This is my mist. So it's a macro in a spruce tree, and it was in a spruce tree. And it does open just like a normal bison tube. It was a very big spruce tree. And it was very easy to get to that spruce tree. You didn't have to break any branches. You just walked up and it was right there. Because I really hate micros and spruce trees.
Don't we all?
Really?
But I do own one, so.
I did that when I first started.
The property has changed hands since that was up there. So that one's at 50 favorites or something. But it's disabled at the moment until I can get the new property owners, hopefully, to authorize me to put it back there. And there is no location within the 400 meters that the reviewers normally allow for me to put it back. So we would have to start anew again, as the one in the mega did for the first mega. So that location is very, very important.
Top, I guess. Waterproof.
I think I've already gone through a little bit about the endurance part, making sure that it survives the elements, making sure that if you do something like a gadget cache, that you're able to maintain it, because, sorry for this, but there's some stupid cachers. Okay, just cachers that want to get into the container quicker than it's designed to be gotten into. Water caches where they tilt it so that they don't have to fill it with water, things like that. So try to make sure that you're able to maintain it. Otherwise, it's just a wasted effort, and people won't get that same experience, right? Bad ideas, of course, anything that looks like a pipe bomb. Anything on an electrical box, I sort of frown from that. There are a few caches hidden around the room. I think that Marcus is sort of handing them out. And of course, the ugly things on the ground. And then I sort of have to, we can talk about whether you can dig a hole or not, because that's against the rules, right? But if you use a natural hole, is that against the rules? If you drill a hole in a piece of wood, is that against the rules?
There's the rule that it can't be buried.
It can't,
The
yeah.
hole really isn't buried.
Yeah, right? So, I mean, if you find a natural hole and you put a natural cover on a great big container, is that really buried? I don't know. So, yeah.
And the container needs to be somewhat submerged below the grade, like the access point is above the dirt, that's within the realm.
So I have a whole set of pictures now, and it's more into the discussion phase, right? Pretty basic idea. You can go to the dollar store and get this plastic grass. You can take some glue and just shove a whole bunch of leaves on top. So that was my simple one. Or you can get a little more creative. So the camel comes with the container. Right? Yeah.
With this particular container, it's shredded pine cones through the blender. Add a little bit of waterproof carpenter glue, white stuff, so it's nice and wet and sloppy, and then just pile on. Wait about 3 days for it to dry outside, and you have this. What I'll now do with the hinges, I'll start to glue on silk leaves, make it look like they're dead. And inside this container, you'll see an example of some of that painting work that goes on to make the leaves look natural.
So level 1, level 2, level 3, depends where you want to take it. An ammo can and a stump, that's pretty good, rather than just a container, right? And a bit of a swivel hinge. None of these are mine, these are all from the internet. Key holder on a piece of bark, on a dead tree, with some metal into the tree so that the magnet can stick on there, right? You put that piece of bark back, fits right in. As Marcus is sort of doing over there, we'll just step through one way to do a bang, you got a fake rock. Got a little bit of skill there, some fencing and some wood and an ammo can. Another fake rock. Now we're getting into some of the creative ways to use a building. Again, you need the property owner's permission. This little building on the back, and it's not an outhouse, has a little flip up. These are very good containers. They lock or not. They have the little piece to lock. They look very natural on the side of a building. There's one in Vancouver, Pan Pacific. Somebody's great. If you can find that, I mean, you're going to get favorites, right? I think this is one of unique caches, or one of the other people down in the States. It's an entire great big travel bug hotel. And of course, you know, the whole structure that this container is on was built. Some of the kind of hides that I like is where you take that natural camel that has already been built from the structure and you add a little bit to it, or hopefully find a hole already in the brick. Adding a little piece of wood to a structure, I tend to take that to the next step, and it's the entire beam, so it looks like a double beam, and I have one of those. Right, guys?
Perfect. Are the pins fake on that one? Oh, yeah. Love it.
All right. We got a couple of guys in Edmonton that like to do hides like that.
Oh, yeah.
Not sure if that's an actual geocache or not, but it was on Pinterest with the geocaches. A doghouse that opens up at a Humane Society kind of place, right? Batman, a fake bat house. We had one in Edmonton, but they shredded the entire row of trees that it was in while the cash was up. And ammo cans don't look very good after that either. It's about the only thing they can survive. There's all different kinds of birdhouses. I love doing birdhouses and different ways to get into them. So that one's got a hinge on the bottom. The good old fake owl. We have at least 3 fake owls in Edmonton. This one is hanging around there. Not sure if you can see that or not, but it's a tree frog, yeah. So, any use of any little gadget that you find at like a garage sale, you know? Hollow it out, hide a cash in it. It's fun to find that extra little effort, right? Or even stick some antennas on it. Great big spider web. I would love to do something like that one. I'm sad I didn't come up with that. Good old sprinkler. I got this one for under $1.
Actually, cash and fic wasn't too happy with sprinklers anymore.
With what?
Sprinklers, not so much the sprinklers, but the ground pop-up ones,
Yeah.
because people are taking the real ones and ruining them.
Yeah. So, you know, you have to take that extra thought, right? You have to understand the piece of property that it's on. And of course, so there's different ways to do that pipe. You can, I like this way where it's a much smaller piece of pipe that's in the ground and you don't have to go too deep, right? Because you just don't want to have to call one just to put a cash out. These are always nice on the side of a building. They look like they totally belong. Right? The cache itself has to have a logbook, but nothing says that the cache can't be the logbook. Right? So this is inside of a pole, and the logbook is on the log. I have a Stanley Cup, so you sign the cup. There's no logbook, you sign the cup. Yeah, and it's like inside of a post, side of a post, nice down low, just that extra little effort to hide the matchstick container.
Yeah.
The big light. You gotta be careful on that. I tried cutting off the bottom of a light bulb, it doesn't work very good. I've tried it a couple of times, it doesn't work very good. I haven't tried grinding it or anything like that yet.
Blender.
But a blender, yeah, a blender. I should borrow a blender.
They come apart really well.
I haven't figured out how yet.
At the very bottom part of that threaded shell, there's a piece of glass, usually dark black or whatever color, and then there's a little foil tip. If you leave those pliers, work to break off that little piece of soldered tip on the end of the glass. Then slowly nip away at that black glass. And once you get to there, you'll get to the actual envelope, which is inside the threaded shell. And that threaded shell outlet is just glued on to it.
That's why there's 2 of us.
And then you just take your screwdriver and just poke it through to break the seal inside that glass. And then you use with another pair of pliers to kind of make it shoot out that
There you go. I didn't know that. So what I did instead was take a real light bulb and put it inside a snow globe that I bought, my spouse bought, at Michael's, and flipped it upside down. And now it looks like a light. That nobody's found yet in Edmonton because Cash Effect wouldn't let me use it. As I didn't have explicit permission from the property owner, I only had implicit. Okay, some bad ideas. This one is borderline, right? I mean, we got the power pole there. This is part of that power pole property. I have one like this. That's just not a good idea. I mean, if you put the geocaching symbol on there and then put underground wires on it, we all understand what it was and it might be okay, but I'm not gonna touch that. I'm not gonna touch this one in Czechoslovakia. I don't speak Czech, but. How about an old microwave? I've seen ones like this that have been really nicely camoed. Then it would make sense, but take that whimsy, that natural camo and add something to it, so a little knoll house in the trees. Add even more to it.
Favorite points.
Favorite points, but how long is that gonna last? Right, so it's gotta have a really good location. Big fire hydrant. I have my dibs in on a real one that I'm going to carry into the woods.
Oh, nice. You and who else?
A wheelbarrow. Because yeah, they're heavy.
Oh, yeah.
One is west of.
Nice big button too. Bit of a gadget cache here. The key gets dropped in one end when you're finished, and you got to get it out the other end to actually open it. And I understand it takes quite a while. A little fun gadget as you go up the pipe, figure it out, or the holes in the side, you flick it up. And of course, a mouse trap. And I believe there's a mouse trap just north.
Yeah.
How far north? I want to go get it.
It's not
10
far.
kilometers.
So about 10 kilometers north of here, there's one like this.
Yeah.
Not this one.
Weapon of
Yeah,
mouse
weapons of
destruction.
mouse.
Weapon of mouse
That's
destruction.
it, yeah.
All right, I'm just gonna leave it here, but we'll refocus on some of those things that, the location, the idea, and those kind of things, right? So everybody's seen an ordinary piece of birch bark and they hide the container in it, right? I like to take it to the next level and also add some camel to the container. And I've done this a bunch of different ways. So this is like a natural piece, again, similar to that, screwed to the lid with the extra hide on it, right? And this, I just use this one as my demo. I almost had to hide it a couple of times. What we also have, of course, is the more town to make at home fake type. Well, that pretty much looks like a real branch. Has everybody found all of the hidden containers in the room?
No.
No?
Someone kept taking them down.
Someone kept taking them down. Yeah, some of them, yeah, there's one underneath the
Oh, yeah, I see it.
over there. Oh yeah, I guess all the rest of them. Oh, there it is. The door stopped. Like I said, hollowing out a rock. And it's a preform in there?
Actually, just a cap.
Just a cap. I'll trust them.
What I have done, being that in the construction, I have access to some of those larger drill bits, so I drilled out a 1-inch hole. So I took a 1-inch drill bit from work, because I have the access being in construction, and I just drilled through on the stone deep enough to hold the log paper. After that, I took a smaller drill bit and I just kind of chiseled little mini holes around to make the opening wide enough to hold the collar of the bottle cap neck, and at the same time it's enough room to get your fingers in there to spin. That way at least the container cover sits flush with the rock so that you can lay it down and it won't possibly break the cover or more versatile.
You can take some other natural elements, right? And this is a fairly big button tube, and it can tuck in there very nicely. You don't have to do much to that, right?
How are you reattaching those onto the tree?
I haven't figured that out yet.
Okay.
Thanks for that question.
Neither have I.
Since we're not allowed to nail or screw into the trees, what I find somewhat acceptable is taking a wire, wrap the tree stem around with the wire, create a little hook off of that, or take some of that more Kevlar type fishing line that has a little bit more wear resistance to it. You know, at that point you can tie a little hook on it, so it'll hang around the piece stand and it's a little more.
Have you tried Velcro?
Not personally, but I have a feeling.
I can't get it to stick. A small stub of a branch stuck out that far, drill a hole the same size into that, sit it on.
So use the tree itself. I haven't quite figured out what I'm going to do with this rifle silencer yet. No, it's not. But it does hold the cache, and I do have an ability to screw it to something or put a magnet in there. And I haven't quite decided what I'm going to do for the outside of that camel yet, but it might just be a birch on the tree. One of my other favorite things to do is go to the hardware store and find different things. Everybody knows about a switch plate cover, right? So take it to that next level, find something like a switch plate cover and put it somewhere. So I found a round one. Haven't decided what color I'm going to paint it yet, because of course I'm going to make it the exact same color as wherever I put it.
Would you put a bison tube in there or just put a log in an envelope?
This one's very narrow. It's going to only take a plastic bag and a logbook. And of course the problem with that is the plastic bag will not keep a log dry. It just won't. And in normal caches, a nice sharp pencil normally goes right through the plastic bag, right? So I have the Sigshark and Janski patented, no I don't patent this, but I made a little chunk of wood, drilled 2 holes in it, holds my pencils, fits in my pocket too. I've done them out of cedar. I've also done them out of styrofoam, the really hard, dense styrofoam. That way you don't have to drill, you can just shove the pencils in it, put a piece of tape around it. So you can make them for a couple of pennies, right? One of my admirers here at the last mega said, hey, why do you have to pay for a bison tube? I make them. What do you mean you make them? Well, I take a small piece of PVC pipe, I cut off the top of a pop bottle, and I jam it onto the PVC pipe. Right now, I have hockey tape on this one, so you can't actually see the piece of PVC pipe, but it's just a pop bottle top on both ends. And these are watertight, because of course, the pop stays inside of the pop bottle. A normal peanut butter jar isn't going to be watertight. So what you can do is cut a small piece of very thin rubber, like bicycle tube rubber, the same size as the jar, put it up inside the lid, and then close it. That will make your peanut butter jar watertight.
You got a little acorn?
Yes.
How about we do that? All right? Put the bell at one end and the cache about 10, 15 feet away. Worked great until we had the polar vortex. And then the batteries just wouldn't power the thing, and I had to switch my multi-cache from finding part A and ringing the doorbell to find part B, which was one of those little houses at the bottom of the tree, to just finding the coordinates for that second piece, unfortunately. So it's a great idea, but when I actually put it to fruition and the elements, it wouldn't work. So you might be able to find a good location a little further south, Florida, but it won't work in Canada when it's 40, 50, 55 below.
That's a pain in the neck.
Yeah, it really is. So, I'm going to open up the floor. I did enough talking.
Is there any questions on the containers that I passed out for have a look at?
What are you producing marks on, like on those glass tubes? And then when you're gonna put some stuff on it, you use that white glue, wasn't it?
So what was asked is, how do I make or glue together one of the plastic homemade bison tubes? Well, not much to it. I just find some scrap pieces of PVC electrical pipe that's half-inch, fits really well to the diameter of the bottleneck of a soda bottle. I'll just cut that off close to the neck, and then I use a urethane glue similar to like a brand called, like a Gorilla Glue. It's a urethane, it expands, it sticks really well to plastic, and it will also help because it expands, you do a watertight seal. Some of the other ones I found are the larger juice jugs. Will actually fit a 1-inch diameter piece of pipe, so you can actually get a little bit bigger to put half pegs or other cables if you want. When I decorate some of the plastic, like that big lumpy wooden one that you saw with the silk plants, I'll take the silk flowers and I'll actually peel them all off the stems and the plastic molding that makes part of that silk flower, and then I'll paint them up. What I have is a bunch of leftover plastic mounts that the silk plant or petals came on, and I decided to make this little whatchamacallit by gluing all those little scrap pieces of plastic. I mean, it breaks the sight lines so it hides well in the tree.
So then how are you putting the bottle, the top, how are you putting that onto your PVC pipe?
A vice.
Nope. The half-inch pipe slips reasonably well, but not snug onto the end of the bottle cap neck. So it just slides together, smear it up with some glue, and just give it a small twist and put it together. The end, just because I want to try and streamline it, you could just simply put another bottle top on the other end that goes off that end. I just been using plastic laminate, arborite material, cut into little circles, and then glue it onto the end just to make it a little more less bulky.
Do us a favor and stay in the Edmonton area.
For myself or
All of you.
This ball of yarn, again, I just took some white waterproof type carpenter's glue, put this in a little cup, watered down the waterproof glue a little bit to the point where it's more like a consistency of milk, and then just let this soak for about an hour or two so that it thoroughly soaks right into the ball of yarn. At that point, you let it outside, let it dry for about a week. It takes a long time for the inside to start getting nice and hard. Once it was completely hard, I just drill it out, put my little, what do you call it, specimen tube that the micro tube fit inside the container. So, that would be this one.
yeah, I just put on the slideshow that I did in the Mega at on the island. I'm not going to talk to that. It just runs in the background.
How many favorite points have you got on your caches? What's the top? What's the top?
I had 138 on the one in the Mega in Three Hills before I had to disable it, and because I put it up a year after it was disabled, it had to start off as a new cache. My Stanley Cup is too short favorites from 100% favorites.
Nice, congratulations.
Thank you.
Why don't you go favorite again?
And it's not you. It's H.M. Dinkle. Is he in the room? And a new cacher that got a premium membership and hasn't cashed since that day, kind of thing. So that other name that I mentioned, he has a series called Hider versus Finder, and it really is difficult to find his hides because they are super, super small. Nanos have nothing on this. He'll hide a piece of paper inside a hollowed out nail. So, right? So, it's not going to be waterproof, and he has to do a lot of maintenance. But some people have fun. Okay, one person has fun finding his hides. And it's not me. Most of us just ignore it because it's just too difficult. That's a fence post. You can see the cut line, and that's the cache inside of it. Some of these are mine. That one's mine. This is my bark one. Eventually it'll come into focus. No, that's still the fence post. That was a night cache that I tried for a while. It lit up. That's my nano cluster. It gets a lot of favorites because it has a whole bunch of small containers inside of it when you lift it up. So there's one in Edmonton and there's one on the island for the mega that I did there. This is an old file cabinet made to look like it's supposed to be there. And it has an ammo can inside of it. Kind of close to something that's dangerous, but you can't quite see it. The GC number is written in sprayed orange paint. This is the this is the Edmonton Bobcat rental. And if you take that phone number, it spells geocaching. So it doesn't work. This is my reflector cache. This is my switch plate cover cache. So it looks like it's supposed to be there, and there is no power to that metal post. These are some other people's. Looks like I borrowed the same picture. That pipe was added. I believe we're coming up to my gadget. Oh, no. See that hand on the... This is one of my favorites. So this is a coffin lid. And it's that big. It's just a plaque on it. Once you flip it over, the container is on the bottom of the lid. And there was a natural hole inside that had a bigger container, an old toolbox. Somebody stole the toolbox. Wow. And it had dead batteries in it, so. Rest in peace batteries. So this is a flick gadget cache. The cap is very blue. Paint comes off. They absolutely slashed this entire row of trees. They left that tree and that gadget cache up. It was the only thing standing for 400 meters. So I was able to retrieve the cache at least. They didn't know, in that same 400 meters was the top of the coffin, thank you. They just drove right over that, they didn't know it was there. So this is my fake structure piece. You have to go right in underneath. Yeah. So that's it there. It's the entire piece. And of course the containers on that piece of wood that comes out. Somebody woke up Christmas morning and went to FTF that.
So,
This is me in Australia at Australia's oldest cache. I haven't got the plaque, I'll do that in a month or so. And the pencil thing, I already talked about that. Some people carry around ladders to get to my caches. Because in the spring, that's just totally swamp. I like the idea behind this one. This is Cool Cat 21. He actually leaves a stick so that you can retrieve the cache out of the tree. So you can hook it, unhook it. But on that same stick, rather than a hook, there's also a pin. And there's a hole in the bottom of the cache so that you can easily push the container back up into the tree, hook it, and come back down straight, rather than trying to figure out how to unhook something that's hooked twice, right? So it's just push it up. And that's sort of where I went with the ones this year. You guys get to talk.
I want to congratulate both of you.
Yeah.
You're amazing. You follow the creative caches on Facebook?
Can't stand her voice.
No, on Facebook there's a...
On Facebook? No.
Yeah, there's creative caching, and it's people from all over the world showing off their different creative caches.
I don't follow that one on Facebook. I follow GSAC.
Yeah, so
A bunch of them.
If you look up on Facebook, you'll see there's creative caching.
You know you're a geocacher when?
Yes.
All that. So if you follow that one, you saw my treasure chest before
Yeah.
it actually got here. Yes?
Yeah, there is a very good thread on
In what, sir?
On the forums.
On the forums?
Yes, there's CCC greater cache containers. And I think the thread is somewhere like 130 or 140 pages. And people post to cache.
Part of geocaching.com. Right. CCC, yeah. I try not to follow the mainstream ones. Questions? I had lots of questions on the island.
Well, that tells you something.
I'm getting better at presenting? Are bored you all to sleep? This one's a really cool series. It's a multi. As you get to each one, on the Harry Potter one, you have to solve a puzzle to get to the next one, right? So it gives you a list of 4 different sets of coordinates that are all very logical, close together, and you have to use your knowledge of Harry Potter or Harry Potter kind of type information. That little book, you can phone a friend, of course, to find out what the answer is to get the correct correspondence. Or you can take the magic wand out of the rib or the spine of the book and find the magnet, and it'll tell you what the answer is. So that extra step that he took, not only in one, making a wooden book to put the whole thing in, but then that magic wand part of it that not everybody finds, because it's very well hidden in the spine of the book. The stone that I did, it shows up here, doesn't it? Just one. Yeah. Let's see if I can stop this. We'll go back to that. Yeah, it's mine. I'm sorry. Okay, so this is the cache in the back of the car. So a lock and lock sandwich container, a piece of plastic, one of my favorite materials. We rent out the basement shower. It had one of those fake, or not fake, cheap plastic showers in it, and that plastic material weathers very, very well to shower. So I get to, and it's easy to cut. I cut it out in the same shape as here, and when I was doing the rock, there's actually 2 undercuts. So that piece of plastic slides in there and holds the sandwich container in. So if you lifted the rock straight up to look underneath it, you wouldn't see the container. You actually have to flip the rock over. The grinder with a 3-inch diamond blade, I took it and went down, 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 chipped out the pieces of the chessboard and just continually did that. And then ground away the sides as best as I could with the 3-inch grinder and the safety pieces that are on there. I thought about removing the safety so I could get more of the blade in there, but I didn't do that. Probably not a good idea. I'm not that good, right? So, personal experience. So that's with that piece on it, right? And it natural in the back of the car, and I think that's it laying in the natural ground. So that grass, when it's alive, is like this tall, right? And that's not the only rock there. It's the only rock dead on ground zero, but there's a bunch of rocks there. And so the rocks are sort of here, ground zero is right here, and right here, just off that part of the picture, is a big fallen tree where it's assumed that the cache would be hidden.
The decoy.
The decoy. There is no decoy there. I do like to put up decoys. Can't always do it. Sorry.
I'm sorry, I just want to know, because of the type of caches you're putting out, you can really spoil the whole experience for the geocacher with crappy coordinates.
With crappy coordinates, yes.
Bang on. What's your process for getting those bang on coordinates?
I use a really cheap Dakota 20 and sit there for the minute and let it tell me that it's within a meter.
You you read to walk back to different angles?
Not all the time.
And have you had comments? Are your coordinates really good?
It seems to cycle. Some years, all of my coordinates seem to be 20 meters off. The reflector is called hindsight is 2020. And some people thought it was a puzzle because they had to go back 20 meters from the posted coordinates and find it.
It was just crappy coordinates.
I had a bad year with coordinates.
But that also depends on the binders machine.
It depends on the finders. I have another plain ordinary container this size. I had it jammed in some branches, and a storm came along and dropped it. It fell in a natural hole. I went to the coordinates, couldn't find the container. It had covered itself perfectly. 20 minutes later, because I knew the exact coordinates, I did find it. I left it there because it was such a good hide. One of our guys, Kick Butt Edmonton, went and looked for it in the winter. I couldn't find it in the summer, right, for 20 minutes. He went in the winter, and his coordinates are exactly the same as mine. Under 3 feet of snow, he found it. He found one of my other ones this weekend, though, and he said the coordinates were a few meters off. So it changes. Every single GPS has a different chip in it. How many satellites you're talking to, and I'm kind of going into geocaching 201 here instead of 401, but yeah, the leaves, the amount of moisture that are in the trees will affect it.
But if you've got good coordinates, you can sleep.
Yeah. Sometimes you don't need good coordinates. One of the favorite caches in all of the world is the Wedding Chapel in Las Vegas. You drive up without a license, and they're handing you an ammo can out the window. Dressed in a wedding dress. The ammo can's in a wedding dress. It's not a green. It's a white. So just that little bit of extra, knowing the property owner, you can get just about anything done, right? To find a place to hide a full-size Stanley Cup, I had to move the cache that was in my backyard 170 meters away, inside the space you're allowed to move it, so that I could install the Stanley Cup in my fence, locked in my fence, right? Because it's a full-size cup. I don't have a picture here, but I have the FTF in the room. I did.
You did the room.
He's hiding in the back.
Put your hand up here.
He found it. Questions? I love talking. So,
Do you have a special cache out for this event?
do I have a special cache? Yes, I do. I have another treasure chest. It's unfortunately 60 kilometers to the north. It's called the Last Saskatchewan Pirate, GC58 Mike 8 Papa. I might have the M and the P backwards. It's GC58 M8P, I think. Where did my, handing stuff out? Yeah, so there's going to be a door prize or a raffle, and anybody who wants a lanyard, lots from the city of Edmonton. You want a lanyard? Absolutely, sir. Would you like this one? Okay, there you go. You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, we're still doing the 1 o'clock lecture. And my other favorite place, of course, is yard sales. I haven't quite figured out what I'm going to do with him, but probably paint him green and put him on a tree. I was going to paint him like a parrot and put it on top of the pirate chest, but I ran out of time.
Do you have a special plan on how you find the property owners? Like within the suburb, it's easy, there's a house usually, but in the boondocks, there's a farm field, and there might be not a structure or anything.
So I have a few geocaching accounts. One of them is Sigshark, which is me, is a non-premium account, so I can show people the difference between premium and non-premium. I have our account, the team Sigshark and Janski, the Janski account, which is a premium account. I'm also the town of Morinville and the town of Bonaccord. So I kind of have some ins with the city staff, so I help them run events. And the one in Bonaccord is going to be this September, and what we're trying to do is feature 10 unique caches. There'll be hopefully more than 10 caches, but at least 10 of them will be unique. Like I'll do a mouse trap for that one. Once you have everybody in a room like this, you find out who works for the city. So one of our guys works for the city, a geocacher, so he has some ins that way. I phoned the city to find out how and what their thoughts were on their road allowance and exactly how much the road allowance was in Edmonton. I talked to a very nice lady there, and I had to slide in the geocaching thing, and she, oh, geocaching, I know about that. And she was very friendly, said, yeah, Edmonton totally supports it. Go out and put them anywhere in the road allowance. The road allowance is X, right? So go to the town or county offices, and they should be able to provide you maps of their property and their opinion of whether they want geocaches on it. The federal parks are just getting back into it. So don't go put one in a park expecting it to be published without their permission. Jasper, you need permission of both the city of Jasper and the federal park. So it's much more difficult. Do I have anybody from Jasper here? Good, so I'm not lying.
I have a Parks Canada cache at the Sir John Johnson Manor House, and it's a written request, submitted, approved, acknowledgement of their restrictions, and an annual renewal.
There you go. That's what that park does. And is your cache bilingual?
Yes.
And
clear.
And
no
no
swag.
And no swag.
But
so only a logbook.
It contains their brochures.
There you go. So rules, right? You just have to know who to ask.
Yes.
Has everyone had a chance to put their name in for the draw?
No.
Sorry, too late.